Steelers Ravens just a couple of days away. Jeff Hathhorn, our sports director, joins us now to get into it. Jeff, George Pickens listed as a DNP yesterday again on the injury report, but there's video out there. He's running around. He looks spry. He throws the ball. Do you think he'll play, A? And B, how much is he pushing to play? Like, I feel like you'd have to hide the keys to T.J. Watt's car to have him miss this game. Is that the sense you're getting from George Pickens?
What you can sense in the room is just that the excitement of we've got a division title right in front of us at our rival, and everybody wants to go. Everybody that is available wants to go. Yeah, I think he's doing all the things on the side that you would see everybody else do, but he's not been on that practice field. Does he need to be on it to be ready for Saturday? Especially, I put it this way. If you could have Scotty Miller for 10 to 15 snaps, or you could have George Pickens for 10 to 15 snaps, even if he's just a decoy, who's going to make a bigger impact? That's why I'm not going to close the door, even though he hasn't practiced this week, because they know he could be a difference maker, even if they don't throw him a bunch.
Jeff, this is the first time in Lamar Jackson's career where he's going to play the Steelers twice in a season. I know that's kind of crazy to even think about, but do you expect it to look different from the Baltimore Ravens? Do you expect it to look maybe more like the Eagles and how their offense approached the Steelers on Saturday whenever the Ravens do take the field? I mean, they just coming off a big win, a tune-up game basically against the Giants. Do you expect it to look different on Saturday from the Ravens' perspective?
So, Dorn, I'll put it this way. We talked to Patrick Queen, obviously his teammate, a buddy of his, and he says that Lamar, towards the end of the season, gets into this, how do I say this, F it mentality, where it's not about sliding. He'll run you over. He'll stiff arm you. He's going to take more chances. I mean, look, like his yards per rush, highest in December. His touchdowns per games, highest in December. He's a guy that's going to and he hasn't been reckless either. That's the thing. It's not like he's got a ton of turnovers. He knows where they're at, and he's going to be as aggressive, probably more aggressive than we saw him in November. I think that's what's going to be different about Lamar. And make no mistake, I mean, the Steelers have done an unbelievable job against a guy who is at least in the conversation for MVP. I know what Josh Allen is doing, but look at those numbers the guy is putting up. They're insane. And they're going to have their hands full again, especially if Deshaun Elliott can't go. That's a big part of that defense. And if I think TJ's going to play, but if for some reason he has a last-minute setback, the Steelers would be in trouble on Saturday.
Jeff, what's your sense of the Jaylen Warren situation? Only 5 touches against Philadelphia. They're using Cordero Patterson more consistently. Is there frustration from his end, from your perspective?
You get the sense there's frustration with the running game, period, right now with that group, from Najee on down. I mean, they all want touches. They all want more opportunities. I think the Philadelphia game was as much about there wasn't much there because Philly's defense is so talented. And Cleveland's a tough team to run against. But I think it's more that they've been waiting for Jalen to provide that splash. I know he wants to be in. They think those third and shorts with the size of Cordero Patterson, that he might give them an advantage. But, I mean, Cordero seems like, yesterday Arthur Smith compared it, like their offense to an old pickup truck. If there was an embodiment of that, it's Cordero. It takes him a little while to get started. Once it gets started, he's running well, but he hasn't been able to get started. Neither has this entire offense. And, Pat, they need explosiveness, especially if George can't play. And it looks like Justin Fields won't be able to go. He is the next best guy to provide some splash other than Calvin Austin. I don't know. Frustrated. I think just across the board, they're frustrated. And obviously the last game, nobody got a lot of touches because they didn't have a lot of plays.
Jeff, you've been around these guys for a while, going to these coordinator media scrums for a long time. And the longer you do it, the more you can get a beat on a guy. and I've listened to all the Arthur Smith press conferences this year. My takeaway from that was they are going to try to impose their will and run the bleep out of the football on Saturday. Is that how you read it, or is there a little bit of, hey, look over here, we're going to do the other thing?
Yeah, I think that is their game plan. I don't know that we're giving away any state secrets there, because you look at the first game, they own the time of possession. Part of what you have to do when you play against players like Lamar is hold on to the football, give them fewer opportunities to possess it or make a play. Yeah, that's they want to impose their physicality, and they weren't able to do it last week. They were able to do it to an extent, even though they didn't run it a ton against Cleveland. But they want to be that team. They're not quite there yet. They're not an elite physical team, but they want to try to impose their will against Baltimore. And I think the positive thing, if you're a Steeler fan going into this, is I think having an experienced quarterback that knows what he needs to do in these situations. Forget about last week for a second. Is a huge advantage, because they want to be physical, but they also have the quarterback that he's shown it now, at least in that one drive with his feet. Like, he can make plays, enough plays to where they can play that type of game.
Jeff, looking ahead a little bit, because we won't talk to you next week and the quick turnaround for the Steelers playing on Christmas Day. If the Steelers were to miraculously win on Saturday and lock up this division, do you see the Steelers resting guys and not playing anybody against the Chiefs?
Yeah, yes, I do see some guys being rested with maybe some injuries that pop up at the last second. Personally, I think they're getting hosed. If they want to send a statement, start Kyle Allen. Bring up a guy from the practice squad. Rest your defensive guys. Let Netflix and the NFL eat with none of the marquee guys on that field. That's what I want to see. I don't know if they would go to that extreme, but listen, if you got the division and this game really doesn't mean much, do you want to risk Russ against Chris Jones, against some of those guys on that Chiefs defense? I mean, I seriously would think about who I would play against the Chiefs. And, Mike won't tell us, but he said on that podcast, or I think it was Rich Eisen, I can't remember who it was, how ticked off he is about the schedule that was put in front of them. You want to show them? Let them be their matchup of Carson Wentz against Kyle Allen on New Year's Day or on Christmas Day.
Jeff Ebenezer Scrooge Hathhorn ruining Christmas for everybody. You mentioned Mike Tomlin. How about Mike Williams? Where is this guy? They bring him in, and he's been targeted 5 times this season, 6 times this season. When is his role going to increase? Is this week a chance for that to happen?
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about this every week because he's that one guy that can go up and get a pass, that can win 50-50 balls. They feel confident about in this receiver group. Again, they didn't have a ton of plays against Philadelphia. I would have thought he would have gotten a couple of opportunities. I will say this. I mean, he's not getting a ton of separation, but at some point I think you're going to have to take a chance and allow him to try to make a play down the field. The only play we really saw down the field last week was that flea flicker to Calvin. We've been asking that question for a month, and it just, again, I would say it's not like he's running free,
right?
But maybe you take a chance or two with Mike Williams and see if he can make a big play for you, and in turn help open up that running game a little more.
Jeff, the Kyle Allen take is my favorite take I've heard in quite some time. The pettiness level of, that is outstanding. And
that's my pettiness. I want to be clear. But
that's so good. I mean, it'll hurt all of our eyes on Christmas, but to make a point, and I'm always one for pettiness. Jeff, appreciate your time as always, buddy. Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas, boys.
Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas, Jeff. A lot to react to there, including that is just tremendous.
That is.
Oh, I 100% agree with him.
Yeah,
I do too. That's good.
But more about the Steelers and their long-term prospects, less about the TV stuff. I mean,
but it's all. You're right.
It all is wrapped up, but I'm more concerned with the Steelers.